So you heard President Trump ask Ambassador Sondland, is he going to do the investigation?
Yes, sir.
What was Ambassador Sondland's response?
He said, oh, yeah, he's going to do it. He'll do anything you ask.
An overheard phone call between President Trump and U.S. Ambassador to the EU, Gordon Sondland, featured at the center of the impeachment inquiry, as Fiona Hill, a former White House advisor, and David Holmes, a staffer at the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, testified about the Trump administration's pressure campaign on Ukraine to get politically motivated investigations.
My clear impression was that the security assistance hold was likely intended by the president either as an expression of dissatisfaction with the Ukrainians, who had not yet agreed to the Burisma-Biden investigation, or as an effort to increase the pressure on them to do so.
Hill, a Russia expert, excoriated those who've pushed the false conspiracy theory that Ukraine and not Russia interfered in the 2016 U.S. election. That's one of the subjects President Trump asked Ukrainian President Zelensky to investigate during their July phone call.
This is a fictional narrative that has been perpetrated and propagated by the Russian security services themselves.
Hill also spoke about the chaos caused by the president's push for those investigations and how that clashed with U.S. goals of supporting Ukraine. She says she raised concerns with White House lawyers in July, then recalled a conversation she had about the scheme with Sondland.
He was being involved in a domestic political errand, and we were being involved in national security foreign policy, and those two things had just diverged. I did say to him, Ambassador Sondland, Gordon, I think this is all going to blow up, and here we are.
Their testimony supports what the inquiry has heard for the past 2 weeks. Republicans dismiss it all as hearsay.
You guys want to be the laughingstock of history to impeach a president of the United States because he didn't take a meeting? Oh, please, dear God.
I believe that the truth will set us free. The president has said to me, the call was perfect. I said to him, the call was perfectly wrong.
The inquiry has still not heard from many of the key figures named by other witnesses. President Trump, Vice President Pence, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo among them. The timeline going forward is sensitive, with both the holidays and the 2020 election on the horizon. Even though key witnesses are being blocked from testifying by the White House, Democrats say they likely won't go to court to compel them to appear because that would interfere with that delicate schedule. Mercedes?
Jackson, with no more public hearings scheduled at this point and still so many names you mentioned that people are curious to hear from, what happens next?
Well, Democrats are going to write a report summarizing the evidence they've heard before moving into committees which will draft actual articles of impeachment. If those articles are passed by the committees, they then move to the full House of Representatives for a vote where they would likely pass, perhaps before Christmas, and from there a trial in the Senate as soon as January. Mercedes?
Jackson, thank you. Our Jackson Proskow in Washington tonight.